Hello, welcome back to Animated Literacy. This is lesson number 91 from the Story Song and Action book. In our last lesson, we learned about a cat named Ping Pong. And why was this cat called Ping Pong? Because he liked to play ping pong. And to make ping pong sound, we pretend to hold up a gong like this. In our other hand, we take the mallet for the gong, and then we ring the gong. Now this gong doesn't ring very well, so I have to make the sound for it. So I'm going to go bong. Can you do that? Bong. Now I'm going to take off the b and the ah, and what's left is ng. Can you do that? Ng. And that's ping pong sound. So whenever we make ping pong sound, we pretend to hold our gong, pretend to hold a mallet, and go ng. Now we've added ping pong to our chart. And when I added ping pong, that was the very last of all of the characters. So every single one of our pictures now has turned to color. So now that we know all of their stories, their songs, and their sounds, we have all the sounds that we need to read just about any word that you want to read. We've been using ping pong sound all year because our very first lesson introduced Are You Sleeping? And at the end of Are You Sleeping, what did the bells say? Ding dong ding, and ding dong ding ends with ng, with ping pong sound. So ng always goes at the end of a word. Now sometimes you might have it like in finger, where it's at the end of thing and then it has a g after it, but it doesn't start a word. So most of the time it ends, and sometimes it might be in the middle. Now we put some other things at the front. In our first lesson, we used Polly Panda, and what did her bells say? Ping pong ping, ping pong ping. If we used Rosie, her bells did what? Ring rong ring. And if we did Polly and Rosie, what did their bells say? Pring prong pring. So we've done a lot of playing with that sound already, and you can keep playing with that sound to get better and better with your sound play. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start to draw some things that include ping pong sound. And when ping pong got the loudest clapping and the longest clapping, he was crowned king. So we're going to draw a picture of a king. So let's take out our pens and let's start by making two eyes. Now let's add a dot inside each eye. Let's give a little curve for the nose. A nice big curve for the smile. So this is going to be a happy king. Now we're going to start next to this eye and come up a little bit with a curve and then down under the mouth for a jaw. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing and connect. Now we're going to start the king's hair. So I'm going to give him some kind of curly hair, just going right above his eyes there. Now what does a king wear to show you that he's king? He has to wear a crown. So we're going to make a crown. I'm going to make two straight lines coming up like this to start the crown. Then I'm going to make a curve that heads down towards the hair, and it's covering the rest of the hair. Then I'm going to give it some points. So I'm going to come up with a point, up and down, then I'll come over to this side and try to match it and do the very same thing. So there's this crown. Now kings like to have lots of jewels on their crowns, so I'm going to make some circles here for jewels, and those could be diamonds or some other kind of jewel, and then put a little jewel at the top of each one of the points of the crown. Now show me when you're ready for our king's shoulders. For his shoulder, I'm going to come across from where his mouth is, make a line angle, curving down, curve in, and then angle in a bit. Then I'm going to come over here next to his mouth again and do the same thing, curve down, come in, and then slant in again. Now let's make his torso. So that's the tummy and the chest part of the body. So I'm going to come down from those two lines and in. Now, kings often wear what's called a sash to show that they're a king. So to make his sash, I'm going to start from up here on this shoulder, and I'm going to aim for a dot right down here. So I'm going to make a line like that. Then I'm going to come back up and make another line that parallels it. So there is his sash coming down. Show me when you're ready for his legs. Come straight down here and across, and then separate them with a line. And then his feet or his shoes. Now what's he missing? He needs some arms. So let's give a pocket here with a curve and a pocket here. And then for his arm, I'm going to start from the top of the pocket and angle out and then up to the inside of his sleeve. Then go to the bottom of the pocket and angle out and up to the outside of the sleeve. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. Top of the pocket out and up to the inside of the sleeve. Bottom of the pocket out and up to the outside. So now what are we going to call him? A king. And this king looks like he's got some kind of short legs, doesn't he? But you might make your legs look longer than that if you wish. Now we're going to write the rhyme in king first. So let's say king. King. Now if I take the k away from king, then I'll have my rhyme. So what comes without the k? Say king. And now you have what left? Ing, if you take the k away. So I'm going to leave a space here. Put an I. And now we have ping pong sound. And how did he spell his sound? With an N and a G. So what does that say? Ing. And what does king start with? K, for blowing kisses. So let's put a K at the beginning. Now if I put that in a circle and tie the string on, and I draw an arrow to it, now I need an adjective to describe our king. So what could we call our king? He could be a small king. This king looks happy, so he could be what? A happy king. He's got kind of nice shoulders here, so he could be a strong king. He could be a nice king. But now if I want to make my adjective a little more interesting, I can use what is called a simile. So we're going to learn a little bit about similes now. So say that word after me. Say simile. This is a whole book that is made up of nothing but similes. So instead of using one word to describe something, they used several words. So it starts out like this. And you can say it after me. I'm as quick as a cricket. I'm as slow as a snail. I'm as small as an ant. What's the opposite of small? I'm as large as a whale. I'm as sad as a basset. Look at how sad that basset hound looks. Now he's not sad anymore. He's what? I'm as happy as a lark. I'm as nice as a bunny. I'm as mean as a shark. So those are called similes. Brian Cleary has a whole book about similes, and he tells us in his book that's called Skin Like Milk, Hair of Silk. He tells us what a simile is, but we can make up some of our own here. If I have a ping pong ball and I drop it onto my ping pong paddle, what does it do? It bounces. So a ping pong ball is bouncy. Now if I want to make a simile out of that, all I have to do is think of something that is not a ping pong ball, but that is bouncy. So here's a spring. Do you see what the spring is doing? So I could say the ping pong ball is as bouncy as a spring. Or if it's a bunny rabbits hop like this. I could go, the ball is as bouncy as a bunny. If I drop my ping pong ball into a puddle, what does it get? It gets all wet. Now if I want to make a simile, I have to think of something that's wet that is not a ping pong ball. What can you think of? Rain is wet. So I could say, as wet as rain. What color is my ball? Oh, this ball is white. So I could say my ball is as white as what can you think of that is white that is not a ball? As white as snow. But this ping pong ball is not white. What is it? It's kind of orange or yellow. So I could say it's as orange as, what can you think of that's orange? As orange as the sun. Or as orange as a tangerine. So now we've got our king here that we drew a picture of. And our king looks, what? Happy. But I don't want to just use the word happy. I want to make that into a simile. Many similes start with the word as. So we're going to write as with an A and an S. Now he's going to be as happy. So we're going to write happy. H for humming. A for adding. We'll give him 2 P's and a Y for happy. Now in our book that we just read, they had as happy as a lark. But I don't want to use lark because that's the word they used. So I want to think of my own word. When I think of something that is happy, I often think of this. So let's go as happy as. Now we need to write as again with an A and an S. As happy as a. What can you think of that's happy? I think these are happy. See if you can figure out what word I'm writing. As happy as a p, p. Again, and the Y at the end of the word is saying E. So what word did I write? As happy as a puppy. So we made that into a simile. Now we're going to draw something else from our story. So this time, let's draw a picture of our gong and see if we can make a simile to go with gong. So to start my gong, I'm going to make a circle like this. Then I'm going to make another circle inside that circle. I'm very close to it. So I've got 2 circles that are kind of close together. Then I'm going to make a line across the top. We're going to make a stand for our gong, and I'm going to angle out a little bit, angle out a little bit. Now we need something to hold the gong up, so I'm going to make a rope coming down from this corner and a rope coming down from this corner, and now we could have some grass or something across the bottom of the gong, like this. So what did we draw a picture of this time? We drew a gong. Now, if I want to write the rhyme in gong, what do I need to take away? Take away the g from gong, and what's left? Ong. What's ong start with? O for Ollie, ostrich. And what does it end with? It ends like ping pong, with ng. And how did ping pong spell that sound? With an N and a G. Now, if I want to write the whole word, what do I need to put in front? Gong. G. G for gliding. Now this time, instead of using as, we're going to use the word like. And similes all have either the word as or like in them. So this one, I'm going to say the gong rings. So what does ring start with? R. R for riding. What's next? I for itching. What's next? Ring. NG. Rings. So we're going to put an S at the end. So now I need to think of something that rings, and that's a verb, so I'll put a line under it. What rings but isn't a gong? Sometimes thunder rings really loud, and it can rumble and ring through the sky. It rings like L, O, I, K. So here we spelled the Ike's sound with an I blank E and a K in the middle. Rings like thunder. So now if I ring this gong and it goes Bong, that kind of sounds sometimes like thunder in the night. So let's write thunder. Thunder starts with TH for thirsty. So I can make my TH. Ah! For up. Thun. N for nibbling. D. For dancing. And ER for Irving turning. So there I've got two different similes. One simile says as happy as a lark. So that one used the word as. This simile used the word like. Rings like thunder. Now this one could, if I've got this bouncing in a spring, it could be bounces like a bunny. If I draw a picture of a fork, and here's the prongs on my fork, and what does a fork do? It pokes. And here's a great big fork. This is like a pitchfork, and here's the prongs on the pitchfork, and it could poke like a stick, or it could be as sharp as a spear, or as sharp as a nail. So whenever you want to make a simile, you just have to think of something that is like what you're thinking of, but is not that very same thing. So we had as white as snow. What else could be white? As white as a cloud, as white as a sheet on my bed. So we could make a lot of things like that. So now my kids ended up really liking similes. So we read Quick as a Cricket in my classroom, and we talked a lot about similes like we just did here. And when my kids went home, one of my kids came back the next day and said, "Mr. Stone, my dad used a simile on me last night." And so I said, "What did your dad say to you?" "He told me I was as cute as a bug." And that's a simile. Then I went to check one of my other students' papers, and she had drawn a picture, and in her picture she had given big brown eyes, almost black eyes, and she wrote on her paper, "Eyes as dark as a cave." So my kids ended up really liking similes. And then when I gave them their time to draw and label, one of my kids decided she wanted to draw a picture of a doll. And so after drawing her picture of the doll, she labeled the doll. She labeled the mouth, and because those are nouns, she put them in a circle. She labeled the heart, and here's the heart on the doll. She labeled the nose, and then when she got down to the bottom, she decided to put a simile and to use the word like. Because remember, similes all have either like or as. And so she wrote, "The hair sways like leaves." And because that was a complete sentence, she put a period after her sentence. We did a lot of pages like this in my classroom. And on this page, I put some nouns up at the top, and those are what the kids needed to put into the circles on the page. Then I put some adjectives up at the top, and they could either choose my adjectives or they could choose their own adjectives. And there's a lot of pages like this in the beginning and the advanced workbook. And so when this child finished their paper, they had a red hen with a big comb, a sharp beak, a short tail, a soft wing, and then they got down here to the eyes. And just like one child I was telling you about wrote eyes as dark as a cave, she wrote a different simile for the eyes. And this child wrote, "The eye can see like a bat." So now I went ahead, since I knew we weren't going to have time to do all of this, and this is the last lesson, I added some more pictures to my page that have NG. So these are some things you can draw on your own, and then you can write similes about. So here's the king and the gong that we drew. And for the gong, I wrote, "The gong is as loud as thunder." Then I drew a picture of a ring for your finger, and I put, "A ring shines like a star." And then I put our ping pong ball here, and I put, "A ping pong ball is as bouncy as a flea," because if you've ever seen fleas on a dog or on a cat or something, when you touch them, they bounce. So it's bouncy as a flea. And here's a string of beads. So this is the string that's holding all of the beads together. So I drew a picture of some beads on a string, and I wrote, the string bends like a rope. So you can bend it all kinds of different ways like this. Then I drew a picture of a fork down here, and that's like this fork with very sharp prongs. And I wrote that the prong on a fork can poke like a stick. So you can draw some more things like that, and I had a spring that bounces like a bunny. So now we're going to do a song and put some things in it that has ping pong's sound. So here's the song when I finished it. Here's how we're going to do it together. So take your paper that looks like this, take your reading finger, and I already wrote in some of the words. So this is to the same tune as Little Green Frog.
With the little green frog one day, with the little green frog, with the little green frog one day, and his legs went jump, jump, jump.
So let's put our finger here and let's try it together. Only now instead of we're going to be doing a ball. And what does a ball do? It bounces. So we're going to start this way. Sing this after me. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong one day. So try that. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong one day. And again, bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong one day. And the gong went bong, bong, bong. So now we need to write some words in there to finish our song. So the first blank that I left empty was this one. What did we sing when we came to that blank? We sang ping pong. So what do we need to write there? Ping, P for painting, I for itching, and then we have ping pong sound with an N and a G. So write ping, and then we need to write pong. What's the first sound you hear in pong? P for painting. Pong. What do you hear next? Aw. For Ollie Ostrich. And what do you hear at the end? So there's our NG sound. Okay, so let's read what we've got so far again. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong one day. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong one day. And the gong, and we wrote gong before. What's gong start with? G. G for gliding. What's the next sound in gong? Gong. Ah. For Ollie Ostrich. What's the last sound in gong? Gong. And there's ping pong sound. And how do we spell that? With an N and a G. And the gong went bong, bong, bong. What's the first sound you hear in bong? B. B for bowing. What's the next sound you hear? Ah. For Ollie Ostrich. And then what's the last sound? We spell with an N and a G. And I left you space there. So I wrote it once with you. Now you can write bong 2 more times here. So let's sing it together once more. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong one day. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong. Bounce, bounce, went the ball in ping pong one day. And the gong went bong, bong, bong. Now I showed you just a moment ago how I finished my page. What do we need to have in our picture? We need to have ping pong. So I drew a picture of a ping pong table, and I drew a picture of ping pong paddles and a ball. What else do we need to have? We need to have a gong to ring, so I drew a picture of a gong. And then I wrote, the sturdy table stands still. The flat ping pong paddles swat. And the big round gong rumbles. So when you finish your picture, you can write some things about it. And I've had a lot of fun teaching you about all of our different characters, all of our different sounds, doing drawing, reading books, and learning lots of things about the subjects that we have been discussing. So this has really been a lot of fun. We will have one more video where I'm going to talk about the review lessons and things that you can do after finishing this lesson, and just a few words of advice. But it's been a real pleasure recording all of these. I hope you enjoy listening to them, and I hope it helps you to become a great reader for the rest of your life. Thank you for joining me.